Sage Wanderer. Well, I'm going to start making videos like this. This is a really bad camera angle, but it's the best I can do with the mount, and this is how I use it, the position it's in for navigation, so I don't have to mess with it. All I gotta do is reach up and hit the button, and I can start recording. So let's talk about impeachment. Well, actually, impeachment is over. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, was in fact impeached by the House of Representatives. So now what? Well, that's actually less of a big deal than you think, because there's no teeth in it. The Congress got together and went, we think he did something wrong. But there was not a trial. There was no judge present. There was no possible way that they could punish the president, because the Congress does not have that power. The only power Congress has is to point the finger and accuse. Now, the Senate is the one that decides. The representation of the state governments of the United States of America is what the Senate is. That's why there's 2 from every state, regardless of how big or small your state is, because all the stars are equal in our United States of America. Welcome to civics class. So, what do we expect to happen in the Senate? So first of all, Nancy Pelosi is delusional if she thinks her opinion matters one iota to the proceedings that are about to occur. She is a bystander and about as powerless as you and I are from this point out. All she can do is turn this over to the Senate or not. But if she doesn't turn it over to the Senate, it's a nothing burger. If she turns it over to the Senate, it's going to fail. And her only hope, the Democratic Party's only hope at making something out of this indictment in the House of Representatives, is to somehow convince the American people that just because all of the Republicans have decided ahead of time that this is BS, that means that they're not going to get a fair trial in the Senate. There's no guarantee of a fair trial in the Senate, just like there was no guarantee of a fair hearing in the Congress, in the House of Representatives, in that kangaroo court. So if you understand the Constitution and the history and the rules, then you understand that the Senate Majority Leader has total control of these proceedings. He can do them however he sees fit. He's not required to be impartial. In fact, he can be a defense or a prosecutor, depending on which party he's in. He can defend the president in the Senate, or he can blast the president in the Senate, and that usually is almost always down party lines when you're dealing with a non-bipartisan or totally partisan, totally divided by party line impeachment process like what you've got going on. Not one single Republican crossed the line in the House, and none are going to cross the line in the Senate either. For one thing, it would be the end of their political careers. And the one congressman who decided not to side with the majority in the House of Representatives decided the best thing for him to do if he was going to vote against impeachment was to just go ahead and leave the party and join the Republicans, because he's on the wrong side of history. He knows it. So Mitch McConnell, the majority leader in the Senate, has total and complete control of the entire process and how it's laid out, what they're going to talk about, what witnesses they call, and the minority has nothing to say about it, just like the minority had nothing to say about it in the Congress. And so literally the shoe's on the other foot now. And now people are saying, but wait, Sage, there's going to be a judge present, because this is an actual trial. So there's going to be the Supreme Court Justice is going to be present. You're right. He's there to be a voice of the Constitution. His role is not to really proceed over the proceedings like a judge would, but rather to watch as an impartial, objective viewer, with the only thing that he's required to do is to defend the Constitution. That's his job there, to go, okay, if you do this, this will probably be considered unconstitutional. Now, the Republicans in the Senate don't have to listen to him. They can go, we don't think so. Now, they are required to vote on it. So what can happen is that, let's say, Mitch tries to do something and the Democrats yell foul. They want to hear from the judge. The judge weighs in and says, no, I'm siding with the Democrats. All the Republicans in the Senate have to do is say, nah, we don't care what the judge says, and this is the Senate, and we can do what we want to in the Senate. So to hell with the judge and his opinion of the Constitution. He's not the Supreme Court. He's just one of them, one of the justices, one of the judges. So he has no power in this situation other than to suggest, and his suggestions can be ignored by the Republicans. Now, the minority would yell foul and demand a vote, and then you just have a roll call vote. And if you have a simple majority who agree, then the Republicans can do whatever they want, and nothing is going to stop them. Nothing is going to prevent them from doing what they want, not even the Supreme Court justice. His role there is not as a judge. His role there is as an advisor to the constitutionality of the whole process. So now you've had Civics Lessons 101. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I believe that's how this is going to go down. Those of you who think this judge has the power to rig something, they really don't. This is really going nowhere. And, you know, the Democrats are going to yell, oh, they're not impartial. Well, they're not required to be impartial. This is not an impartial investigation. This is a political witch hunt. And we can answer it with a reverse political witch hunt. If they had the power to do it in the House, we have the power to do it in the Senate. And the judge really hasn't got any power to say any different. And if he does, a simple majority of the Senate can tell him, forget about it. And then it has to go to the Supreme Court through the regular judicial system. So now you understand what to expect in the near future with the prosecution in the Senate. Let's stop calling this impeachment. Impeachment's over. He's impeached. But that don't mean squat unless he's convicted. So this is the trial of Donald Trump in the Senate. Or not. The Senate can just decide to not even hear the case. It's not a problem. There's no laws against it. It's not a violation of the Constitution. The Senate majority has all of the power. And that's just the way the founders built it. If you don't like it, go to Venezuela. God save our republic.